Hi everyone, this is Andrew Tan. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be upgrading the internal mechanical drive of this late 2012 27-inch iMac. So if we go to the storage tab here, we can see that we're using a traditional mechanical hard drive, and these are really slow. This took forever to boot to get to this stage, and that's because these drives, they tend to kind of die out very quickly, and because they are mechanical drives, they get slower and slower over time, and eventually they'll die because of all the moving parts inside them. And today what we're going to be doing is replacing it with an internal solid state drive. So these drives are much faster than the internal drives. We're going to show you how to actually clone this and then install it internally into the iMac. I have a tutorial about how to do this externally to make this like an easier process. However, today we're going to be doing this completely internally, and it's going to be integrated so we have a full unit without any hanging cables. This is going to be a little bit more difficult. If you want the easier method, then please check out my video tutorial in the description. So some of the parts we're going to need today, we're going to need an adapter. So this is a USB to SATA adapter. So this is going to be attaching the solid state drive to, so we can do a clone. So that's only if you want to be able to retain the data on your current computer and kind of move it onto the new drive and have a kind of seamless upgrade. You can of course upgrade this without doing that and do a full reinstall of the operating system. However, we're going to do this the way that most users are going to want to experience this upgrade. They want a seamless data moved from their old mechanical drive to the new one. Secondly, we're going to be using this 2.5-inch hard drive bracket adapter. So I'll leave a link to this in the description. This is not strictly necessary, and I'll show you why when we actually open up the computer, but for most people's peace of mind, I'd really recommend getting something like this. This will just hold the solid state drive in place where the 3.5-inch hard drive would go, because this is only 2.5-inch. You don't necessarily want it rattling around in the computer. So the very last thing that we need are the adhesives. I'm using this sticker strip for the Apple iMac 27-inch A1419, and this is the particular model that we're using here. So because this is the A1419, this actually applies to many of the 27-inch iMacs. I believe it's from 2012 to 2020. They all use the same type of screen. So basically we're going to be using these adhesives because we have to kind of cut through this. So the edges of the screen are actually glued into the actual casing. So you need one of these cutting wheels. I don't have the handle for this, but you can just use the cutting wheel on its own. So if you don't have one, I do recommend you order one with the actual cutting wheel included. You can get the adhesive strips and the cutting wheel together. So the first step we're going to do is to make a clone of the data. So I'm going to get my solid state drive. So this is a standard 2.5-inch solid state drive. I'm going to plug it into my SATA USB adapter, and then we're going to plug it into the back of the iMac. So here I've got the solid state drive attached, and it's now picked up on the actual desktop of the screen here, so we can see that it's successfully mounted. Then we're going to go to the carboncopycloner.com website. So this is where we're going to copy the data from the internal drive to the external drive. So we're going to download the 30-day free trial, and once we've downloaded the trial, I'm going to open up Carbon Copy Cloner. I'm going to my downloads folder. I'm going to move it into the applications folder. Within the applications folder, I'm going to double click on Carbon Copy Cloner. Now I'm going to press open, and then I'm going to press trial. So everything we need to do is going to be included in the trial. So now what we're going to do is to create a new task. I'm going to press the new task button here. And what I want to do is to select the internal drive as a source. So the internal drive is this gray one here. We're going to select that now. And the destination we want to set as the volume here. So this volume is the one that's now attached to that drive. I've already renamed this one extra. However, if you can't see this for whatever reason, you can go to Spotlight and then type in the word disk utility, and then you can always format the external drive. If you can't see it correctly, you can erase it and then format it as an APFS drive. So just make sure that the one that you've attached is the one that you find in disk utility. Once you're ready, what you can do is to go ahead and turn safety net off by clicking on here and turning safety net off. You don't need that. And then we can go on to the next step. We can just press the start button and then click run now. So everything on the destination drive is going to be erased. This computer is basically going to clone all of the data from the internal drive to the external drive. So the idea is that once we've replaced the solid state drive, all of the operating system files, all your user files are all going to be copied over as well. So nothing will be missing. It'll be as if you're using exactly the same computer, but running much faster than before. This has gone very quick. This is because I've already done the clone beforehand and it's just comparing the difference, so it hardly took any time to actually complete the clone. However, if you have a lot of data, like a terabyte of data, this might take a long time. If your hard drive is damaged, then this could take something like 6 hours to do. So let that run until it completes. So next stage now is we're going to shut down the computer and press shut down here, switch off the computer completely. So what we're going to do as a safety tip is to remove the power cable from the computer and then remove the solid state drive plugged in via USB as well. And then basically what we need to do is use this cutting wheel. So I don't have the handle for this, but it's not strictly necessary. The reason that we use a wheel rather than a knife is that there are a few cables here. For example, the webcam cable here, if you cut too deep, you'll cut that cable by accident. And so these wheels, they're designed to only go then a centimeter deep. And then basically what you want to do is just use the handle, use the wheel to kind of push this all the way around. And basically you want to cut through all of the adhesives on the edge. You can kind of hear it if you kind of meet any resistance. That's this kind of literally glue that's holding the screen into the actual chassis. So as you're doing this, what you should also do, once you actually do remove all the glue, the screen will actually fall down. So it's a good idea to just put this down and rotate it and then do it from there. So here I'm lying my iMac down like this, and I'm just going to finish cutting all of the adhesives off. So easily the most annoying part of this process is doing this. But basically you just want to run this all the way through. So once you've removed enough adhesive, you should be able to lift up the screen. And you have to be very careful here, because what you want to do is to make sure that we don't rip the cable here. So what I tend to do is to use a box to prop this up. I'm going to use an iPhone case. I'm just going to show you what it looks like underneath. So once that's adhesives removed, I prop this up with an iPhone mini case, and you just want to be careful of these cables here, because these are attached to the screen, and basically you want to remove them and just be a bit careful with this. So this one just needs a bit of pulling, and this one is basically like a pull tab. So if I pull this up, this little lever bit up here, and then I can just remove this cable. And basically now I can lift up the screen fully, and basically I'm going to prop this up again. And then basically I'm going to prop this against the back wall. So if you have a back wall, you can prop it against there. There are tools you can use to prop this up correctly, but I tend to find this is safe enough. So in terms of the hard drive, this is the actual hard drive which we're going to replace with this solid state drive. So this is substantially smaller, which is why we're going to use this hard drive adapter. So next thing is that we're going to go ahead and remove this hard drive. So this bracket here is actually kind of in the way of the speaker bracket. So we need to use a specific type of screwdriver to get rid of these screws. So this is a T6. So basically it's kind of this hexagonal shaped screw, and basically you can find them quite easily online. If you have the right type of flathead screwdriver that's exactly this width, then you could use that instead. However, T6 screws are pretty common online, and I'm just going to use this to loosen this screw here and then this screw here. So we don't really need to take it out fully. However, it's good to just lift this out slightly. And then we're going to do the next step, which is basically take this bracket out. And then we're going to retain this screw. And here we're going to remove this bracket. That screw's gone. And then basically we can lift this out now. And we're going to remove the SATA cable here. And then basically that's fully removed. So this is all your data is stored here, and we're going to replace it with this solid state drive. So in order to do this elegantly, what you want to do is to basically remove this bracket too, and we're going to transfer it onto the solid state drive. So this bracket can just be removed, and then basically you want to remove the side kind of holders here. These are all T6s once again. So just keep a hold of these, be careful of them because they're a bit small, and you've got a couple more here. So basically we can now put this away. You can keep this as a backup, or just erase it and throw it in the bin. So we do have the option of simply plugging the solid state drive in like this and just leaving it like that. And you can just tape it over and it won't move. And it doesn't really matter that it's loose like this because it doesn't have any moving parts. You can simply tape it down and it would effectively be perfectly fine. However, we're going to do this the proper way. We're going to use one of these 2.5 to 3.5 inch adapters so that we can make use of all the brackets. And basically what that means is that we're going to open this up and then install the solid state drive into that instead. So I'm going to leave a link to this Sabre adapter in the description. These are very cheap anyway, so it just takes a little bit of extra time and effort and a tiny bit more money in order to do this correctly. So we have the adapter here. So when you're putting this together, it's important to make sure that basically the end where the solid state drive is at the bottom. So there's two kind of ways to do this. And you basically want this raised like so. And you want this SATA cabling, which is going to meet this one here. So I'm just going to use this screwdriver. I do recommend any kind of magnetized Phillips head. It will be fine. And basically you just want to align them up correctly and then put the hole like so and then screw this in like so. So basically, once you've done all four sides, we'll move on to the next step. So basically that's ready. And now we need to install the 4 brackets. So those are going to hold this into the edge here. So we're going to take those tiny little black screws familiar with the T6 ends. I'm basically going to put them into the 4 corners of this adapter. Okay, so once all those 4 bits are attached, we're ready to move this into the actual case. So what I'm going to do is make sure we have the SATA end like so. And then we're going to basically put this bracket on here. So firstly, we kind of hold that bracket in place, move this speaker slightly, and then this left bracket goes into this edge like so. And then we put this section in, and then we need to put our last T6 screws here. So that's all held into place correctly. And then we have the last screw up here. And then we need to secure the cabling, so just make sure that can actually fit before we secure it fully. And then we're going to move the speaker part back in. So we just put the T6 back here. So this part does actually matter because your speaker is a moving part and it might rattle if it's not secured correctly. Okay, so now that part's done, basically we move into the next part, which is basically to remove the adhesives. So each of these corners is adhered here. So we kind of cut this with the cutting wheel earlier, and basically you can use a spudger or a fingernail or something to basically pull all this off. So this is necessary because when we put the new adhesives on, we don't want them to be covering the old adhesives. It just makes the whole thing much thicker and weaker. So what I tend to do is to use a spudger of some kind. You could use a knife even if you wanted to, it's no big deal. And basically you want to pull off this adhesive as much in one piece as possible. It can be quite challenging to get it all in one bit, but it's probably worth trying. I often find that sometimes it will just come off as a very bitty mess. Depends how it was cut. But here you can see we just pulled that off completely, very easy. So basically this edge is the same. We just try to get one end of the adhesive off and then try to get it all in one piece as much as possible. You can use a spudger to help you as well. And then that all comes off one glorious piece. So any kind of adhesive you find, you can just throw away. It cannot be reused. Now pull that up. So there is these gold sections here which also have adhesives on, which we're also going to get rid of, and these tend to be a little bit tougher. For whatever reason it does not want to come off in one piece, but as you can see we did get there in the end. So here I'm just moving up to this top bit. Yep, that's all come off. So the conventional wisdom is that if you want to replace the whole part, you can, but I tend to find because the screen bottom is lodged in, but we have the 3 edges, we don't need to do the bottom part. So that saves quite a lot of time. And basically with the actual screen itself, There's also some residual adhesives here too, so it's kind of the same deal. I'm just going to kind of pull it down and try to take it off as one big strip. So try not to remove the backing, because I've also managed to remove some of the backing, but I've actually removed more than I needed to, because I've taken off the adhesive strip and some of this kind of shielding too, but that doesn't really matter too much. And basically we're just going to repeat for this top bit. And now we just pull this off. And the last bit here. So now it's done, we basically need to do the last bit. So I'm going to use the adhesives here, and we're just going to pull them all out. The main thing is that we arrange them all in the correct order. So the way that I normally do this, I don't use the bottom two pieces because this adhesive is there and I can't be bothered to remove them, and there's really no point. So I'm going to remove these two numbers. So that's 14 and 15, which normally go at the bottom. So I normally leave those out. And then we normally arrange it like so. So we have the number 11 here, number 12 here, number 13, and then number 16. The basic process that I normally use is that I get like a thin screwdriver, and then I take off the backing. So what you do is you look at the back of the adhesive, and then you find these tabs. Basically you remove the back completely so that we have the sticky side on one end, and there are these kind of handy guide holes which I put my screwdriver in, and these align with the holes here. And what I tend to do is just use them to guide the stickers down. I'll push down like so. It doesn't have to be super precise, but that's ready to go now. So number 12 is ready, and we just do all the numbers. So we're not worried about sticking anything on top because we have the top sticker still intact. Nothing on the top is going to get sticky, so it's less delicate than it looks. Let's lay that down like so with that hole arranged over there, and then this screwdriver will go over this hole here. Oh, this one's actually split, but I wouldn't worry too much about this. Not that big a deal because it's just glue at the end of the day. And if 90% of this screen adhered correctly, then that's perfectly fine. You need to make sure that it's not overlapping the edge. That's perfectly fine. Here we're going to do 13. So I'm going to take the back off 13 as well. So I'm going to put the screwdriver hole here. So don't pull too hard because you don't want to break or stretch the adhesives too much. You just want to place it over those points so that it all lines up correctly. So at this stage, it's like a really good idea to double check that everything is working correctly before we remove these tabs, because once we remove them, then it's a real pain to put them back together. So what I do recommend that you do is to kind of pull the screen down, put this holder in like so, and then just basically connect these monitor cables again, like so. So plug this monitor cable in here, and then this kind of sticks down into this area here. And then here with this cable, you push this in, and then we lever that little metal bar over the top. So be very delicate with this one as well. You need to kind of push this cabling in. So what's quite handy with this is we have this pull tab. So we just kind of use it to align and then pull the cable in, and then kind of push that cabling over the top once it's fully in. So it should be completely flush when you put it down. And basically what we're going to do is just remove my holding box and then put the screen in like so. Then what I highly recommend that you do is you get a bit of tape of some kind just to hold the screen in like so, and then we're going to flip it over and just double check that it's all done correctly. So I'm just going to plug in my power cable. Basically now it's all plugged in, I'm going to switch on the computer, just make sure that it's all booting up correctly and that all the cables are connected in correctly. So that's because once we remove these tabs, just like the last chance before we would have to break the adhesive again, because if there was an issue, we'd have to break all the adhesives again, and that's a real pain to do at this stage. So we just want to make sure it's all correct, and I'll show you how to take those last stickers off without taking those cables off again. So when you boot from your solid state drive for the very first time, it might be a little bit slow like this. However, that should only happen once, so just don't worry too much about it. Also, if you didn't actually clone your data at this stage, what you can do is when you boot your computer, you can press the Command R button, or if you're on a Windows keyboard, you can press the Command R button here as the computer's booting up, and then you can install a fresh operating system onto here. So we can see here that this has all copied over correctly. If I look at the screen now, everything is as it should be. So we are perfectly in the right stage to finish this process. So I'm just going to quickly show you how to do this. What we're going to do now is to make sure we shut down the computer. So it's relatively straightforward. I'm going to remove the bit of tape that I added in just as a precaution. That's just to stop the screen from falling forwards because there's no adhesive holding it in. So let me remove that first. Now I can actually pull this screen forward slightly. And basically what we want to do is get the tabs. So I've got the tabs on the edge here. I'm just going to remove them. That just reveals the other side of the sticky tape. And I'm going to remove this side and this side. And then finally the right side as well. So it's a very good idea to do this as it's up because this is the correct orientation. If you did it lying down, sometimes the screen can be further up than it should be. However, this should be digging down into that. So anyway, once that's done, basically we've got all this double-sided tape here. We just need to push the screen in. Basically, we formed this kind of perfect seal all the way around. What I'm going to do is just basically press this in, and it's completely done. And for good measure, I'm just going to lean it backwards a little bit, just so that there's no pressure of it falling forwards. I'm going to turn on the computer again. So now this computer is basically done. I'm going to show you the solid state drive in the About This Mac. Here I can see the storage. I installed a 480GB SSD, which is showing up here as a solid state internal drive. And this is way faster than the old mechanical drive. So for example, I'm just going to open up Safari and it's opened up pretty much instantly. I go ahead with my computer and press Command N, and basically I can load up like 100 windows of Safari, and it's pretty much instantaneous. So we don't have any of those old mechanical drive issues from before. It's all working pretty much seamlessly. So anyway, I hope you found this video useful. I've got lots and lots of other Mac repair, M1 Mac gaming and technical tutorials on my channel. If you like this video, please like, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.